She had not raced on the track since the summer of 1980. But when 23-year-old Mary Decker-Tabb finally overcame the latest in her troubling series of injuries, she set her sights on the 82 American indoor season. She entered 6 races in 2 months and won all 6 easily. In doing so, she set 5 world records, slashing the indoor mile mark on 3 different occasions. On February 5th in Los Angeles, she lapped the entire field on her way to world record times in both the 2,000 and 3,000 meters. And while this most recent string of amazing races has made Decker-Tabb happy, she is far from satisfied.
The indoor season was gratifying because after being injured for so long, it just seemed like eternity last year. But I'm a little bit disappointed that I wanted to run the mile faster than I did. I don't know, I guess the way I look at it is I can go back and run a little faster next year.
Mary Decker-Tabb has always been her own biggest critic, but it's that fierce competitive attitude that has kept her on the track and out of forced retirement. As a record-breaking teenage middle-distance runner, Decker suffered her first of a series of painful lower leg injuries. She was 16 years old and already her career was threatened.
It got to the point where it just throbbed so badly that I'd stopped running and the pain still didn't go away. And that's when I felt pressure. I didn't feel it before then, but I felt pressure then because I couldn't do what everybody expected, and before I could.
For months, Mary went from one specialist to another, trying to determine what was causing the intense pain in her lower legs. Finally, her problem was diagnosed as anterior compartment syndrome, a rare occurrence where overdeveloped calf muscles are restricted by the sheaths that surround them, cutting off the blood supply and causing intense pain. In surgery, Decker's muscle sheaths were split, allowing the muscles to expand and contract freely without pain. A relieved Decker was determined to pick up her running career, but those around her gave her little chance of full recovery.
And I just got so irritated when I heard people saying that. I mean, I never told anybody I was through. I never told anybody that I would never run again, but everybody told me that I would never run again and that I was through.
Such talk only inspired Decker's effort to return to the track, and after several years of rehabilitation and intense training, she did so in style, setting 3 world and 8 American records in 1980. Suddenly, she was on top of the track world, expected to lead the Americans to gold at the 1980 Olympic Games. But President Carter's boycott of the Moscow Olympics would take away Mary's chance at the gold. For American athletes, the Olympic trials in Eugene, Oregon became their Olympic Games. And for 21-year-old Mary Decker, running the 1,500 meters before her hometown fans, the Olympic trials became her showcase.
To me, winning the trials was much more important than it would have been given there was the Olympics to go to. If there were the Olympics, just placing 3rd would have been fine, just getting on the team. But since there wasn't the Olympics, I thought that winning was much more important than it would have been.
Mary would go on to have an excellent summer season in Europe before dropping out of a race in Brussels with an injury to her Achilles. That injury would also require surgery. And the resulting layoff would lead Mary trying to come back too fast, too soon, causing that familiar pain in her lower legs. In the spring of '81, Mary's legs again went under a surgeon's knife, and daily trips to the whirlpool were once again a way of life for Mary Decker. But this time, the coach of her Athletics West club, Dick Brown, was determined to guide Mary through a slow, progressive comeback. He helped Mary with irregular ultrasound treatments, therapy that's designed to restore the circulation and reduce the swelling in her tender calves.
All we are trying to do is speed up nature. That's all ultrasound does, all whirlpool does, all massage does. It really is working on the circulation.
And when he finally okayed Mary's first run following surgery, he joined her, just to make sure she carefully jogged through only the 1 mile that he prescribed. Brown says Decker's biggest strength, her intense desire to compete, may also be her glaring weakness, especially in dealing with an injury.
I think she has a need to reassure herself that she is good, and she has a need to show herself that she's better than any of the people that she's competing against. I think that's her one of her biggest advantages, but that also could be one of her biggest problems, is because when she does train, she tries to probably go too hard, too soon, too often.
Well, I do have a tendency to push myself to disaster, so to speak, which would be injury.
So it's great that she can push herself, and it's important for the competition, but if she could learn to control that urge to push herself in workouts, she might be more durable.
Under Brown's guidance, Mary checked her temptation to push herself beyond her body's limits. And slowly, surely, she worked herself back into shape. She would miss the entire '81 track season, but her September marriage to distance runner Ron Tabb more than made up for missed opportunities on the track.
He really helped get me through the track season last year, because it's really hard to sit out a track season and watch what everybody else is doing and not be able to do anything.
Ron and Mary train together now, helping each other through the rough times. Ron had surgery for a leg injury in the winter of '81, so Mary gave him the advice she had so much trouble accepting herself. Don't push too hard, too soon.
I try to talk sense to him and make him slow down and realize what's best for his running, and he tries to do the same for me. And I think we both have good advice for each other. It's just hard for us to follow each other's advice ourselves. My own advice to me and his to him.
I'm able to watch her and find her weaknesses, her strengths, and at that point I can relate it to Dick Brown and relate it to Mary and tell them what I'm seeing, and in that respect we're able to, I think keep Mary healthy.
And a healthy Mary Decker Tabb is what the competition fears. She attacked the '82 indoor season with a vengeance, running away from everybody to run alone against the clock, usually coming out on top. But with a history of injury, world records, injury, world records, Mary knows the cycle could swing back to injury, a fact of life she must learn to live with.
The only way that I've been able to cope with injuries is just believing in myself, to the point that I could tell myself, well, you're injured now, but if you give up, you're the one, throwing in the towel, so to speak. If you don't give up, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. It's not their life.
Now she looks forward to the outdoor season and running against stronger international competition. Someone who will stay with her in her race against the clock.